Thank you for joining us on the news at this time on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. Bamidele John is a sign language interpreter. We begin with the leading stories. President Tinubu commends NNPCL over reopening of Warri Refinery. U.S. and world leaders praise late Jimmy Carter's legacy. Also on the news, correspondents take a look at various sectors in 2024. The successful startup of Area 1 crude distillation unit, gas plants and vacuum distillation units of Warri Refinery is providing additional 75,000 barrels per day of petroleum products to the market. Lydia Sampson reports that the plant is currently operating at 60% capacity as key players commit to ramping up production. Warri Refinery restarted production of kerosene, LPG, fuel oil and other intermediate distillates, says NNPC Limited. Board chairman and leadership of the Nigerian Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority was satisfied that the operational status are unanimous and that the milestone will have ripple effects on the entire oil and gas value chain.
We like to put that we are ready and prepared to serve the market the products that really need. Very soon, the importation of refined product will be of the past.
So both refineries now coming on, and the importation that we have to supplement whatever we now have the barometer to measure the prices. And we believe that, as we said back in Port Harcourt last month, the price are going to start coming down, and we can see it happening. And this is all because of the abundance, availability of the product all across the country.
Now, President Bola Tinubu has expressed his profound joy as the reopening of the Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, describing it as another remarkable achievement in 2024 that has strengthened Nigeria's hope in his administration. Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, in a statement confirms today that the Warri Refinery returned to operation weeks after NNPC Limited restarted the 16,000 barrels per day as the Port Harcourt Refinery in November. He added that with Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company going into operation after several years of inactivity, President Tinubu has once again expressed his administration's determination to ramp up local refining capacity and make Nigeria a hub for downstream industrial activities in Africa. The All Progressives Congress-led administration of President Muhammadu Buhari awarded the contract for the complete rehabilitation and overhaul of the 4 state-owned refineries. President Tinubu noted with confidence that with the 125,000 barrels per day Warri Refinery now operating at 60% capacity, his administration's comprehensive plan to ensure energy efficiency and security is entirely on course. He praised the Mele Kyari-led management of the NNPCL for working hard to restore Nigeria's glory and pride as a major oil-producing country. President Tinubu enjoined NNPCL to accelerate repair work on Kaduna Refinery and the 150,000 barrels per day second refinery in Port Harcourt to consolidate Nigeria's position as a global energy provider. The Warri Refinery will focus on producing and storing critical products, including straight-run kerosene, automotive gas oil, AGO, and heavy and light naphtha. Motorists in South Africa will pay more for fuel at the pumps in the new year, following increases in January. Fuel prices are set to increase from 1st January next year. The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources says the price of petrol, that is octane, will increase by 19 cents a litre, while that of diesel, that is unleaded petrol, will increase by 12% or 12 cents a litre. Diesel prices will rise by 7.5 cents and 10.5 cents a litre, depending on the grade, while illuminating paraffin will decrease by 13 cents a litre at the retail level. Liquefied petroleum gas will increase by 13 cents per kilogram. The spokesperson for the Mineral Resources and Energy Department, Robert Markey, has attributed the price increases to the weaker rand against the US dollar. Now, world leaders have continued to pay tribute to the former United States President Jimmy Carter, who died on Sunday at the age of 100. Carter served as the 39th President of the U.S. from 1977 to 1981. Musa Aliu reports.
Jimmy Carter, the former United States President, was a peanut farmer from Georgia before entering politics. Carter, a Democrat, was elected president and served a single term from 1977 to 1981.
Faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
However, he lost his re-election bid to Ronald Reagan despite his notable achievements as a peacemaker. During his presidency, he advocated peace in the Middle East and mediated a truce between Israel and Arab nations.
We're using every available channel to protect the safety of the hostages and to secure their release.
Carter was the first U.S. president to make a formal state visit to sub-Saharan Africa. Jimmy Carter visited Nigeria from March 31 to April 3, 1978. He also visited Liberia. After he left office, he established the Carter Center in 1982. The non-profit organization has championed causes including global health and human rights. The foundation assisted developing nations in the fight against measles and guinea worm diseases, including Nigeria. As he paid tribute to the late Jimmy Carter, President Joe Biden of the United States declared January 9 a nation day of mourning for Jimmy Carter, calling on Americans to visit their places of worship to pay homage to the late U.S. leader and announced a state burial in honor of the late U.S. leader. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated that late Jimmy Carter played a key role in conflict mediation, election monitoring, and promotion of democracy, as well as in disease prevention and eradication. This effort earned him the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 and significantly advanced the work of the United Nations. King Charles observed that Carter was a dedicated public servant who devoted his life to promoting peace and human rights. He noted that Carter's dedication and humanity served as an inspiration to many. In Abuja, Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu extends his deepest condolences to the governments and people of the United States of America on the passing of former President Jimmy Carter, who died at the age of 100. President Carter, the 39th President of the United States, was a beacon of service to humanity, demonstrating to leaders worldwide the profound impact of dedication beyond the highest office. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu fondly calls President Carter as a trustworthy and compassionate friend to Nigeria. He lauds Carter's significant contributions through the Carter Center, particularly his efforts in eradicating guinea worm disease and river blindness in Nigeria, which have significantly improved the lives of many. Reflecting on Nigeria-U.S. relations, President Tinubu nostalgically remembers President Carter's historic visit to Nigeria in March 1978 and his 3-day stay at the State House in Marina, Lagos State. Under Carter's leadership, this visit marked a pivotal moment in U.S. foreign policy. It laid the groundwork for a pragmatic relationship between the United States and Africa, with Nigeria at its heart. President Tinubu expresses hope that President Carter's legacy of decency, character, and humanity, both in and out of office, will continue to inspire Americans and leaders worldwide. 'wide, to embrace the true essence of leadership.
'Leadership. 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 '
Now the rest of the world recessed to an outpouring of remembrance for a life of principle lived by the late President of the U.S., Jimmy Carter. Here is a bit of what to know as packaged by Kolo Mohammed.
Joe Biden, U.S. President, in remarks Sunday, said Carter lived a life of purpose and deep meaning.
I think that what Jimmy Carter is an example of is just simple decency. The rest of the world looks to us. Today's world, some look at Jimmy Carter and see a man of a bygone era. With honesty, character, faith, and humility, it mattered. But I don't believe it's a bygone era. I see a man not only of our times, but for all times. Someone who embodied the most fundamental human values we can never let slip away.
Kamala Harris, U.S. Vice President, in a statement said Jimmy Carter lived a life divinely guided, and U.S. incoming President Donald Trump offered highest respect and regard to Jimmy Carter. Similarly, presidents of China and Russia paid glowing tributes to the late president, describing him as a man of peace and human rights advocate. In the meantime, everything in his hometown is about him. Both giant signs, hundreds of Jimmy Carter's buttons, and inhabitants who talked about a man deeply involved in the community of over 700 people. American citizens also reflected on Carter's legacies. Mourners lit flowers in honor of the late former president as the U.S. flag was flown at half-mast at the White House. Jimmy Carter lived for 1 century, and he is survived by children and grandchildren. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
In other news, families of airplane crashes wait in agony of loss for information about their loved ones. The European Union requests authorization to issue countermeasures. Here again is Kolo Mohammed with details.
Families and friends of yesterday's air mishap victims have gathered, mourning, seeking information, and hoping for heart-cooling closure regarding events leading up to the plane crashes of yesterday in South Korea, Seoul, and Canada. They asked the government to work twice as hard to recover bodies faster to enable them give the dead a burial of honor. In other news, the European Union on Monday requested authorization from the World Trade Organization to impose countermeasures to compensate for U.S. custom duties on Spanish olive imports. The request was filed at a meeting of WTO's Dispute Settlement Body, DSB, after Washington challenged the amount of retaliation proposed by the EU. The EU requests for DSB authorization to impose countermeasures on imports from the United States to compensate for the US's failure to comply with an earlier panel ruling faulting U.S. anti-dumping and countervailing duties on the ripe olives from Spain. The source said a WTO arbitrary will now determine the appropriate level of countermeasures, the trade official said. During the DSB meeting at the WTO's Geneva headquarters, a U.S. representative clarified that in a letter dated Friday, Washington objected to the level of suspension of concession or other obligations proposed by the EU. Under WTO rules, if a country is found in fault, it must make amends without delay. If not, the complaining country can impose retaliatory measures. During Donald Trump's first term as U.S. president, his administration slapped extra tariffs on Spain's iconic agricultural exports in 2018. Considering their olives were subsidized and being dumped on the U.S. market at prices below their real value. Following a complaint from the EU, a panel of experts appointed by WTO's DSB ruled in 2021 that the steep import duties violated international trade laws and demanded that the United States rectify the situation. Washington did not appeal against that ruling and later maintained that it had made the required changes. However, the EU disagreed and called for a WTO compliance panel to evaluate the situation. In its ruling in February, that panel found that The EU had demonstrated that the United States has failed to bring its measures into conformity with the adopted DSP recommendations and rulings. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has received briefing from a Nigerian delegation that recently visited the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for more bilateral cooperation and collaboration. Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, recently led a delegation that included his counterpart for budget and economic planning, Atiku Bagudu, and other members of the Presidential Economic Coordination Council to follow up on the economic diplomacy between the two countries. After their meeting with the president, the ministers explained that the delegation reassured the Saudi authorities of various reforms to stabilize the macroeconomic environment in Nigeria and therefore elicited a renewed commitment that would translate to the creation of more job opportunities in Nigeria.
Across the various opportunities that are there for foreign direct investment, for trade partnerships, and for even financial investments.
So all our engagement with Saudi officials demonstrated that confidence, and that we are confident investments will follow, and the relationship will blossom such that our reserves and our economic ties will improve with the kingdom.
The Budget and Economic Planning Minister also speaks on key expectations from the 2025 budget the President recently presented to the National Assembly.
We have turned the bend. I think we have taken the top choices. We have seen maybe where we have seen the worst we could see. And not unexpected, that is why social protection was improved. So what we are expecting to see in 25 is better economic, lower inflation, more employment opportunities, more support for businesses, more infrastructure development, more funding of security and better security, and all those priority areas, human capital development, education, health. We are sure to see more in that direction, and the quality of life will get better.
You're watching the news live from the studios of NTA International in Abuja. We take a short break. Do stay. You're welcome back. With the commitments of the federal government to fighting corruption and every other crime in the society, the nation's justice sector has been busy as it continues to adjudicate on several cases, including civil and criminal. In this report, judiciary correspondent Otinanyebe takes a look at some of the criminal cases brought before the courts in 2024.
Keying into the Renew Hope agenda of the present administration, the Ministry of Justice embarked on several judicial reforms to make the administration of the criminal justice more efficient and effective. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, realizing that many of the subnational governments are culpable of being involved in financial crimes simply because they indulge in the management of local government funds, approached the Supreme Court to get the financial autonomy for the local government.
He has created a platform, an enabling environment for the Ministry of Justice and the private sector, the civil society, to work together. That's commendable. I also salute his effort at local government reform. For me, if that can work, it's going to make a lot of positive impact.
It is only somebody who has faced those challenges in criminal trials from state to state as they differ that will understand they need to harmonize and have a uniform system operating all over Nigeria, all over the courts. So that what you get in the court in Abuja is not different from what you get in the court in Sokoto. So that what you get in Sokoto is not different from what you get in Port Harcourt.
Not relenting in its effort to fight corruption, the anti-graft agency EFCC has continued to prosecute those investigated and alleged to have committed financial crimes. Prominent among people with financial crime cases before the courts in 2024 include the former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, who is still facing trial in multiple courts with varying counts bordering on alleged embezzlement, misappropriation, and money laundering. The case of former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, is also before the Federal High Court and the High Court of the FCT on alleged financial crimes amounting to 110 billion naira. While he was denied bail by the High Court of the FCT, the Federal High Court granted him bail with a sum of 500 million naira with two sureties who must have landed property within the jurisdiction of the court. A former Minister of Aviation under the administration of President Muhammad Buhari, Hadi Abubakar Shirika, and his brother were arraigned before Justice Begori of the High Court, Garuki. They were arraigned on 10 count charge bordering on contract fraud to the tune of 5.8 billion naira, which they pleaded not guilty. They were subsequently granted bail with a sum of 100 million naira each with two sureties.
There are cases that have gone on for the past 10, 6, 7 years, and there's no, the date when they might be concluded is not in sight. Even when you conclude the trial, they can go on appeal. But plea bargaining gives you a certain closure within a limited period of time.
Another criminal trial before the court was that instituted against Binance Nigeria. But in October 23rd, the Nigerian Anti-Corruption Agency dropped a money laundering case against the top cryptocurrency executive, Tigran Gambaryan. The Nigerian government had accused Binance of manipulating the local currency through peer-to-peer trading on its platform. It subsequently slammed tax evasion, currency speculation, and money laundering counts to the tune of $34 million against its executives. There were other cases of cyber crimes that took place in 2024. Commenting on how the courts have fared in handling criminal cases, legal experts say it was challenging. But with the ongoing reforms under the Renew Hope agenda, they said things are getting better.
We need to reduce the number of times that witnesses are physically needed to come to court. We need to come up with a system where testimonies can be taken without them physically being in court.
We have common, similar minimum standards. In other words, everywhere you go in Nigeria, you can expect that you will find these provisions there. That's one.
To expedite criminal trials, they have this suggestion for the critical stakeholders in the justice sector.
I think apart from the judges, apart from the investigators, apart from the prosecutors, it is important that the authorities, the NJC particularly, to set a deadline for e-recording to become the normal practice in our courts.
They express optimism that 2025 will be better going by the reforms embarked upon by the Ministry of Justice. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
Improvement in security in Jimtilo and Kwandoga in Borno State is encouraging farmers and rural dwellers to return to their ancestral homes. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa on a media tour to the area organized by the Defense Media Operations brings us the details.
Jatilo in Kwandoga local government area is about 20 minutes drive to Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. In the past, the area was infested by Boko Haram terrorist group, killing many and destroying property. This necessitated the deployment of troops. The commander of 3 Artillery Regiment says the force is enjoying cordial working relationship with the locals who provide intelligence to the force while maintaining an eagle eye on the community.
They are able to give us information concerning activities ahead of the parapets. So we also use them for human intelligence too. They support us in a lot of things. I will make sure that we protect them from any terrorist attacks.
Locals in Jatilo harvesting their farm produce after what they describe a bomber harvest this year. This is courtesy of fortification of the area and improvement of security. 35-year-old Fatima Ali says Jatilo is enjoying relative peace courtesy of troops' constant surveillance and patrol.
We give glory to God for these recent years. We have been able to go to our farms, cultivate and harvest peacefully without any attack from terrorists. We thank God and the soldiers
Allah ya karfafa su da alheri.
Non-kinetic effort is actually the larger chunk of what is required to solve an insurgency because it tackles the root cause of the insurgency. The kinetic aspect creates the enabling environment for other lines of effort, both governance, intelligence, socio-economic activities.
The deployment is comprising personnel from the military, paramilitary, and the civilian joint task force.
This is the 3-3 Artillery Regiment of the Nigerian Army in Jetilo in Kwandaga local government area, one of the forces providing security for Jetilo, Kwandaga, and Borno State. From Jetilo in Kwandaga, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
The Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdul Hamid Dembus, has reaffirmed the organization's commitment to providing credible information for national integration, unity, and progress of the country. He was speaking at the NTA Kaduna Network Center reunion dinner, an event that brought together former staff of the organization at the station's premises. Muhammad Umar Ajingi brings us the details.
Is NTA Kaduna in the heart of Kaduna Metropolis, a premier broadcast organization since in the 70s and 80s that has produced iconic contents that reflect the rich cultural heritage of the North. Senator Shehu Sani recalls some of the station's most educative programs.
Samanja, Magana Jariche, and many programs, Titus Workshop.
These are some of the producers, presenters, cameramen, and notable artists such as Hawa Funtua. The Director General of the NTA, Salihu Abdul Hamid Dembus, who began his career as a cameraman here, is also among the men behind the scene who have contributed in producing some of these great contents.
My dream for Nigeria and for NTA is the dream of every Nigerian. To see a television that will be desirous and a television that every Nigerian will be proud of. A television that will be believable. And I'm glad part of the testimonies we've had this afternoon and through the evening, good comments about the authority. I give kudos to the working head members of staff of the authority. And we also want to thank the viewers, that is Nigerians.
Nobody who is a minister, a governor, or a lawmaker that will have said he has not benefited in one way or another from NTA. And you can see that he is repositioning the Nigerian Television Authority. It has become an authority. It has become a source of credible information.
This reunion provides an opportunity for them to meet their colleagues who they have not seen for over 30, 40, 50 years.
Feeling fantastically well, honestly, because if I have blood pressure of 140, I'm sure now it's about 120.
In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Quite a nostalgic moment, I must say. And then on that note, we come to the end of the news. We thank you for watching. I'm Lami Ali. Bamidele John has been the sign language interpreter. Do have a good evening.